Bledsoe was arrested.
Patrick Montgomery was in court.
Jonathan Manapa will stay in federal custody.
No, I don't take responsibility at all.
40-year-old Missouri resident Shawn Witzemann hosted a Facebook Live show called the Armenian Council for Truth in Journalism. And on November 3rd of 2020, he falsely stated on that show that mail-in ballots were being thrown away. In the weeks that followed, Witzemann made additional false statements about the 2020 election. And on December 16th, he said in part, quote, "There is no 2024. I'm not waiting that long." Then on December 20th of 2020, while he was speaking about an upcoming trip to DC, Witzemann said in part, quote, "The cops are going to have to make a choice." On January 6th, Witzemann attended Trump's rally at the Ellipse. Then he walked to the Capitol. He entered the building shortly after the first breach. And Witzemann was filming this whole time. And he recorded a confrontation between two police officers and some of Trump's mob. And in this video, Witzemann was heard saying to one of the officers, quote, "Brother, stand with us." Witzemann continued to venture throughout the Capitol. He was recording the whole time. Eventually, after more than an hour, actually almost an hour and a half, he was corralled along with a bunch of others, and he was ushered out of the building. After he returned to his hotel room, Witzemann was a guest on a radio show, and he stated that Donald Trump needed to, quote, "invoke the Insurrection Act now more than ever." Witzemann also claimed that while he was in the Capitol, quote, "I screamed at the cops in the Capitol and I said, 'Don't you realize if they take over, it could be 100 years before the lights come back on?' The police officer, he looked at me and said, 'I know.'" Later that night, Witzemann was on another show. He shared that to his Facebook group and he said, quote, "Let's just get this out of the way." So he opened his jacket and he revealed that he was wearing a shirt that read, "Enrique Tarrio did nothing wrong." Really? Yeah. Theft and vandalism apparently is doing nothing wrong. So by that logic, then, BLM and Antifa did nothing wrong in the summer of 2020. So I don't know why people keep yelling about it. Cash me outside. How about that? Anyway, Witzemann went on an expletive-filled tirade about a politician who, in his words, were, quote, "lecturing us about morality and what it means to be an American and all this other bullshit," while he was hiding in a fucking tunnel underneath the Capitol. And then he made more comments about the election. He falsely claimed that, quote, "there was no vandalism at the Capitol," even though he walked through a door that had been literally busted open by the mob, right next to windows that had been shattered by the mob, and he walked by furniture that had been overturned by the mob. So anyway, Witzemann also stated, quote, "There were so many times that I wanted to do something besides film." He also went off on an officer who didn't nod to him. He was cursing and calling the officer names. Then on January 15th of 2021, before charges had been filed against him, Witzemann reached out to the FBI and he agreed to an interview. So he did turn himself in. We have to give him credit for that. He explained that he's an independent journalist who runs Tribune Media International. Witzemann said that he travels to protests throughout the country, which is true. I've seen the videos. And he admitted that his views often align with the protesters. He also admitted that he did enter the Capitol. He did say that he witnessed physical conflict between the police and the mob. But in the months that followed, Witzemann continued to post online, falsely claiming that the election was stolen still. So Witzemann was arrested on April 6th of 2021. He was charged with entering a restricted building or grounds, 2 counts of disorderly conduct, and parading or demonstrating in a Capitol. If you guys have been following the show for a while, you might remember my update about Witzemann. He originally took a plea deal. Then he backed out of it after Trump suck-up judge Trevor McFadden acquitted a January 6th defendant of the same 4 charges. Several months later, however, Witzemann made the prudent decision, in my opinion, to plead guilty to the parading charge. So Witzemann was facing up to 6 months in jail, 5 years of probation, and $5,000 in fines. But the prosecutor requested only 30 days in jail, 3 years of probation, 60 hours of community service, and a $500 restitution fee. And full disclosure, guys, I originally, in that update video, said that I believed Witzemann made the right decision in rejecting the plea because at the time, I didn't have all of the facts and evidence about his actions at the Capitol and what he did after the attack, the statements that he made. From what I read in the original affidavit and the research I did online, I really did believe that Witzemann was just at the Capitol strictly as an independent journalist, that he didn't say anything to the police, that he didn't do anything other than walk through the building. So Witzemann somehow saw my video and he shared it on Twitter and he thanked me for being unbiased. And as I've said several times, when you make yourself part of the story, you're no longer a journalist. You become a suspect. And I've come to discover Witzemann also has a bit of a criminal history. In 2004, Witzemann was given a 364-day suspended sentence and also 544 days of probation. That was for resisting, evading, and obstructing an officer. He was also charged in that incident with aggravated assault upon a peace officer and assault against a household member. Those charges, though, were dropped. Also in 2012, Witzemann was arrested for battery. However, that charge was dismissed for some reason. So U.S. District Judge Thomas Hogan presided over Weitzmann's case. He called Witzemann out for his association with the Proud Bigots, and he noted Weitzmann's comment about how Trump should have invoked the Insurrection Act. And Judge Hogan told him, quote, "That comes close to sedition." In the end, Judge Hogan sentenced Witzemann to only 7 days in jail, 2 years of probation, and a $500 restitution fee. As I've said before, nonviolent Trump supporters who were there on January 6th, who went inside the building, in my opinion, should receive 2 to 3 months in jail. They contributed to a horrific, violent day. They distracted officers from helping fellow officers who were being brutalized by Trump's terrorists. So my advice to Witzemann, if he should ask, would be stay above the fray. Definitely don't go in the building unless you have a pass, unless you have an actual press pass. And as a Jewish man, research who you're keeping company with. They're not your friends. You are useful in their narrative, just like their other tokens are. Candace Owens, Milo Yiannopoulos, now George Santos. People like Witzemann act as a fig leaf for the vile racism and anti-Semitism in the Republican Party. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching and listening. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please donate or become a monthly supporter on Supercast. Thank you all so much. Take care, and I'll talk with you soon.